Imagine that tomorrow morning, every goal you've been chasing is finally yours. The money, the promotion, the house, the recognition, everything. How long do you think it would take before your mind started searching for the next thing? A year? A month? A week? Most people believe they're chasing success. History suggests something much stranger. You're chasing a feeling that success was never designed to produce. The human brain is remarkably good at reaching goals. It is remarkably bad at living inside them. History has already tested this. It gave one man almost unlimited wealth, unlimited influence, unlimited freedom, and then it watched what happened when there was almost nothing left to acquire. His name was Howard Hughes. At one point, he owned an airline, a movie studio, hotels, real estate, enough money to spend several lifetimes without ever earning another dollar. Yet by the end of his life, he was still reaching. Not because he needed more, because the thing he was looking for was never hidden inside the things he owned. I call this the collector. Not someone who collects possessions, someone who spends an entire lifetime believing that the next achievement, the next purchase, the next victory will finally produce the feeling, the last one promised. And by the end of this documentary, the question won't be why Howard Hughes couldn't stop acquiring. The question will be far more uncomfortable. What if you've been collecting for the exact same reason? Without ever realizing it, every human being carries an invisible prediction, not about the world, about themselves. It sounds something like this. When I finally get there, then I'll relax. Then I'll feel secure. Then I'll finally be enough. We rarely say those words out loud. We don't have to. Our decisions say them for us. The promotion, the bigger house, the degree, the business, the relationship. The next milestone quietly becomes the emotional finish line. Not because we want more, because we believe the next achievement contains a feeling the current one never gave us. The strange thing is, it works. For a moment, the achievement arrives. The excitement is real. The relief is real. The satisfaction is real. Then something almost invisible begins to happen. The extraordinary starts becoming ordinary. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation. The brain recalibrates to its new normal. What once felt extraordinary becomes expected. The house becomes your house. The promotion becomes your job. The salary becomes your salary. The impossible quietly becomes ordinary. This isn't a flaw in the human mind. It's one of the reasons our species survived. A brain that stayed satisfied for too long would stop exploring, stop adapting, stop growing. The mechanism that helped our ancestors survive still lives inside us today, only now. It has new things to chase. Not food, not shelter, status, recognition, possessions, success. Howard Hughes became one of the richest men on earth. Most people assume that wealth changed him. History suggests something more unsettling. It revealed him. Because money doesn't remove psychological mechanisms. It removes the limits that usually keep them hidden. Most of us eventually stop chasing because reality forces us to. We run out of money. We run out of time. We run out of opportunities. Howard Hughes encountered almost none of those limits. He had the rare privilege and the terrible misfortune of discovering what happens when a human being can continue chasing without interruption. He built companies. He bought airlines. He accumulated extraordinary wealth. Each victory looked like a finish line. Each finish line quietly became another starting line. Not because he lacked discipline, not because he was irrational, because the brain doesn't naturally ask, "Do I have enough?" It asks, "What's next?" And that single question has built civilizations. It has also destroyed them. Think about the last thing you desperately wanted. The job, the phone, the car, the house, the relationship. Remember how important it felt before you had it. Now ask yourself something far more uncomfortable. How often do you wake up grateful that you finally have it? If that question feels difficult to answer, you're beginning to see the mechanism. Not Howard Hughes's, yours. The tragedy wasn't that Hughes wanted more. The tragedy was that he mistook movement for arrival. And history suggests he wasn't the only one. Most of us never discover where this mechanism ends. Not because we conquer it, because life eventually interrupts it. Money runs out, time runs out, responsibilities arrive. Reality quietly tells us, enough. Howard Hughes lived inside a different experiment. History handed him almost unlimited resources. He didn't have to stop building. He didn't have to stop buying. He didn't have to stop expanding. If acquiring really produced peace, Howard Hughes should have become one of the most peaceful men who ever lived. He didn't. He became one of the most isolated. That's the part history rarely emphasizes. People remember the empire, the airplanes, the films, the fortune, but those weren't the experiment. They were the conditions. The experiment was this: what happens when a human being can continue chasing without ever being forced to stop? History answered. Nothing changes. The finish line simply moves. Again and again and again. Arrival keeps moving. This wasn't really about airplanes or hotels or companies. Those were simply the language his brain happened to speak. If Howard Hughes had been born today, he might have collected startups, followers, luxury watches, real estate, private equity, artificial intelligence companies. The objects change. The mechanism doesn't. Because people don't become attached to things. They become attached to what those things promise. Security, status, control, significance, completion. The tragedy begins when the promise expires faster than the purchase. Every acquisition creates the same conversation. This is it, until it isn't. Then the mind quietly rewrites the sentence. No, the next one. Psychologists describe this as reward prediction error. The brain anticipates a lasting emotional reward. When reality delivers something smaller, dopamine doesn't conclude the search is over. It concludes the search wasn't ambitious enough. So the target expands, not because you're irrational, because your brain mistakes novelty for fulfillment. Howard Hughes wasn't collecting possessions, he was collecting predictions. Each one whispered the same promise. This time, you'll finally arrive. None of them did. More is not a destination. Now look around your own life, not your bank account, your browser. How many tabs are open? Filled with things you once believed would change your life. Courses, books, shoes, technology, investments, the next productivity system, the next opportunity, the next version of yourself. How many of those purchases were really attempts to purchase a feeling? Because history suggests Howard Hughes wasn't unique. He was simply allowed to keep chasing long enough for the mechanism to reveal itself completely. And that's what makes his story so unsettling. It's not that he became someone different. It's that success removed every excuse until all that remained was the pattern itself. There is something deeply unfair about this story, because the very thing that made Howard Hughes extraordinary is the same thing that eventually trapped him. The world celebrates relentless people, the ones who refuse to settle, who work longer, risk more, build bigger. History rewards those people until it doesn't. The problem isn't ambition. Ambition built cities. It cured diseases. It crossed oceans. It put human beings on the moon. Ambition is one of civilization's greatest inventions. The danger begins when ambition quietly changes jobs, when it stops serving your life and your life begins serving it. Who is serving? Who? Howard Hughes no longer controlled the pursuit. The pursuit controlled him. That is how psychological mechanisms become prisons. Not suddenly, gradually. So gradually, you stop recognizing the bars. Because from the inside, they look like discipline. They look like standards. They look like excellence. They even look like success. Every achievement creates a new identity. The successful one, the wealthy one, the exceptional one. At first, you build that identity. Then something changes. You begin protecting it. Then, without realizing it, you begin obeying it. Because once your identity depends on always becoming more, standing still begins to feel like failure. Rest feels irresponsible. Contentment feels dangerous. Enough feels like surrender. Howard Hughes wasn't trapped by his wealth. He was trapped by the person he believed he had to keep becoming. That is a very different prison. You don't chase success. You chase the person you hope it makes you. Think about your own life. How many goals are still yours? And how many belong to a version of yourself you invented years ago? The promotion you no longer want, the lifestyle you no longer enjoy, the expectations you no longer question, the endless pressure to become someone you've never stopped to ask whether you still want to be. Psychologists sometimes speak about identity becoming fused with performance. When that happens, achievement stops being something you do. It becomes proof that you deserve to exist. And once performance becomes identity, there is no finish line. Because you can never collect enough evidence to permanently silence doubt. That may be the saddest part of Howard Hughes' story. Not that he kept acquiring, not that he kept expanding, not even that he died one of the richest men in history. It's that every new achievement promised the same thing. This will finally be enough. And every single one left him needing another. He wasn't collecting things. He was collecting hope. History often tells us that Howard Hughes accumulated extraordinary wealth. I think history tells a different story. It shows us a man who spent his entire life mistaking movement for freedom. And those are not the same thing. Every civilization leaves behind monuments. Every empire leaves behind ruins. Every human being leaves behind a pattern. Howard Hughes left behind one of the clearest psychological patterns history has ever recorded. Not because he acquired so much, because he proved that acquisition has a limit, while desire often doesn't. We spend our lives believing that enough is waiting for us somewhere ahead. One more achievement, one more promotion, one more investment, one more victory, one more version of ourselves. The strange part is, when we finally reach the place we imagined, our imagination quietly moves it again. Not because we're irrational, because the brain was never trying to arrive, it was trying to continue. The brain chases motion, not arrival. That changes the question entirely. The question is no longer, how much is enough? History cannot answer that. Only you can. The real question is, who decides when enough has arrived? If the answer is your next achievement, you've already surrendered the decision. If the answer is the market, you'll always feel behind. If the answer is other people, you'll spend your life competing in races you never chose. Howard Hughes spent decades trying to discover enough through accumulation. History suggests enough was never hidden inside the accumulation. It was hidden inside the decision to stop asking accumulation to solve a psychological problem. Look around the room you're sitting in. How many things around you used to be the thing you couldn't wait to own? The phone, the watch, the car, the degree hanging on the wall, the job title in your email signature. Once, each one promised to change your life. Today, they're simply part of the background. Not because they failed. Because your brain did exactly what it was designed to do. It adapted. Maybe that's why history keeps repeating itself. Not because people fail to learn, because every generation believes their next achievement will succeed where everyone else has failed. Howard Hughes wasn't the exception. He was the experiment, and history has already published the results. He had everything. He kept reaching. The tragedy of Howard Hughes's life wasn't that he became one of the richest men who ever lived. The tragedy was believing that the next acquisition would finally produce a feeling that no acquisition was ever designed to create. Perhaps the most expensive thing you will ever own is the belief that your life begins after the next achievement. Because the most dangerous collector isn't the person collecting money or houses or companies. It's the person collecting versions of tomorrow while quietly forgetting they're living through today. Power shaped history, human nature repeated it at Empire Psychology.